Okay.
I mean, that's
Now,
more
look,
of like
when you try to solve this equation, when I say follow the same procedure I did up here, I mean, what did I do? I wrote this. I said that the form is this. Identified A and B, and then I said, here's the equivalent form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you don't do every one of those steps, you're probably going to mess it up. Okay? So do every one of those steps, at least for the next week. After that, you'll have a better feel for it, and you pretty much know how to write it down. Okay? So the form of this is 2 to the b equals a. I saw a lot of people that didn't write this down, even though it's written down here. Well, that means you're trying to think for yourself, and I want you to do that. But as long as you think for yourself the way I want you to think for yourself. I want you to do your own thinking, but right now you need to walk before you run. Okay? So here's the form, and now we identify, and I think everybody that wrote it down in this, with these steps, got it. Okay, I don't know if you at least got up to the point where you just had something to put into your calculator. Okay? It's of this form with b equal to 0.03x and a equal to 1.3. Now I'm confident that everybody can do that. I'm not confident that you can do it if you don't write it out exactly like this. I'm not confident you're going to understand it if you don't use these words, at least the first few times you do one. Okay? So I want to emphasize you have to do this. Okay, the big understanding that's involved here is something that you all, I think, are doing pretty well with, which is just how this all relates to the inverse function. Okay? I think at least you believe that there's a reason for all this. It's not just something that came down on a stone tablet. Okay. So, we have this. Now, what's the next thing I want to write down? What's the next thing I wrote down here after identifying A and B?
You want to write it
the
in
other-
French
I wrote the
form?
word equivalent to, right?
Okay.
I'm going to write those words on the board, even though I don't need them, but you do. Okay? This is equivalent to log base 2 of A equals B. Okay? Since we've identified A and B, then it's going to be very easy to write something down here, right? So we've identified A, we've identified B. This tells us that log base 2 of 1.3 equals 0.03x. Make sense? Now all we have to do is solve for x. We know, because I gave you the rule up here, you're going to be able to evaluate this using your calculator, right? What's it going to be? It's going to be log of 1.3 divided by log of 2. Okay? Now, whether you understand that or not, that's what you're going to do, because that's what the rule says. Now, as we go on, we might understand better in terms of what it means to stretch and shift graphs, why that is, but it's not important now. There's the rule. You can use it, and it's an easy rule to remember. Okay, so, again, following the exact set of steps with the words, we can divide by 0.03, and we clearly understand then that x is log base 2 of 1.3 divided by 0.03. Okay? And what's that equal? Well, log base 2 of 1.3 is log of 1.3 over log of 2. Right? Then evaluate that on your calculator. Okay? Now, I can't, with any reasonable accuracy, although if I work with it a little bit, I remember what the numbers are. I can't, with any reasonable accuracy, estimate the log of 1.3. Okay, I know that the log of 3 is about 1/2. Okay? So log of the square root of 3 would be about half of that, be 1.7. So I'm getting to where I think maybe it's about 0.12 or 1.3. Okay? Yeah.
Is that a division symbol between the 1.3
Yeah, well,
and log?
what you got up here, right? It comes from here. So if you're not sure what that symbol is, use this rule and write it out yourself. But in order to answer your question, which is perfectly valid, that is a division, yes.
Okay.
Okay? So I can't accurately approximate this, but I think that's like about 0.12, and that's like a little less than 0.3. Yeah, a little less than 1/3, around 0.3. So I'm thinking maybe this is like 0.4, and you divide that 0.03, and you get about 13 or 14. But I could be off by several numbers. What did anybody get?
12.6.
Oh, 13 or 4, I was fine. Okay? Someday I'll explain to you, because once we understand the properties of logs, it's not hard to understand what I just did. Okay? So, I'm going to say it's in the ballpark of 13, but you're going to get more significant figures than I got. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is really important, but just a little.